Hello, friends, and welcome to the Imago Nutrition Podcast. I'm your host, Mark Glesney, along with my partner, sister-in-law, registered dietitian extraordinaire, Danielle Glesney. And this is the podcast where we answer your questions and give you practical nutrition strategies to help you and your family flourish. And so if you are someone, if you've been following along, that is looking for ways to incorporate healthier, quote unquote, healthier foods, we talk about all food in context, all food in moderation can have its place. But if you're generally someone that's like, I want to eat healthier, but looking for creative ways to incorporate some healthy foods, this is the series, really, not just the podcast episode, but the podcast series for you. We're loosely calling it the Getting Creative with Food series, and we're taking you through 2 foods per episode, or more accurately, Danielle is taking us all through 2 foods per episode. And so if you are here, we're excited to talk about today. We're going to be talking about how to get creative with lentils and kale. And I know kale, because I follow lots of people on social media, I know kale gets kind of a bad rap. It's kind of the people making fun of it, right? It gets the brunt end of a lot of jokes. We'll say that. And some people might even be like, what are lentils? And so we've covered apples, avocados, blueberries, bulgur, cauliflower, canned beans, Greek yogurt, hummus through this series. And so if any of those foods you're curious about, be sure to go back through previous episodes. But we're going to be talking about creative ways to incorporate lentils and kale. However, I need an update on the evolution of Danielle's roller skating skills, because last week we talked about how you were beginning to teach yourself how to roller skate. And so I'm curious how that has been going, as I think you've been partaking in that since we last talked. So how is roller skating going, Danielle?
It's been going good. I still haven't looked up how to stop properly, but my neighbor
you didn't use my technique that I pretended to know about, or you drag, you cant your foot and drag.
I know. Well, okay. Honestly, Mark, I don't think I went last since we talked, but I'm trying to get my neighbor. I've been trying to get my neighbor to get this going with me. She kind of bought him first and asked me to get him, and she hasn't done it with me yet.
You sent me a photo. You sent me a photo of you and Graham, correct? And so maybe I'll upload this to our social media.
With your
permission. With your permission, I think I should upload this to our social media so that people listening will head over there to see a picture of you and Graham roller skating. So we'll talk about that. I'll have the lawyers drop an agreement, for the release of your image. But
oh my goodness, how about you?
That's awesome.
Have you been having fun?
Yeah, we've been. My oldest, Ethan, and I have been all in on reffing on the weekend. So we ref soccer. We got certified back in February. It's his first job. You have to be 13 in order to become a U.S. Soccer Federation ref, and so he wanted that to be his first job. And so we've been doing kind of 1 match or 2 match, a weekend for the last couple months. And this last weekend, we got asked to be a part of a statewide, it's a state certification. So there's these big tournaments that take place. And so on Saturday, we made ourselves available in the scheduling software from 8 to 5, and they scheduled us for 5 matches on Saturday.
Wow.
And so our first one was at 8 a.m. and our last match was at 4 o'clock. And so I think I clocked somewhere near like 30,000 steps in 5 matches. And I was a center ref, so I'm running up and down kind of diagonally the field and trying to be as close to the ball as possible. And so, yeah, I'm having a good time staying in shape and getting paid, which is kind of nice because I tell people, like, if you're looking for a reason to get a little cardio and make some money, I've never been paid to do cardio before, but I'm being paid right now to get a lot of steps in on a weekend. And last night I checked, there's another tournament over in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. So we were in Franklin over this weekend, Tennessee, and then we're going to head over to Murfreesboro. And I saw that tournament just scheduled us for 5 matches on Saturday too. So I'm going to go do it again. And so little younger ages, so it won't be as much. But so it was a fun weekend. So we're doing a lot of reffing. So I did 5 matches on Saturday. I did a championship match on Sunday, and only had to kick 1 parent off the premises. And so that's a pretty good day when you only have to confront and remove 1 belligerent parent that is taking a U14 soccer tournament far too seriously. So yeah,
Wow.
but we're having a blast. So
And you
we're
and Ethan
staying
get to
active.
do the same game?
What's that?
You and Ethan get to be paired up at the same game, or you guys get separated?
Yes, no. So for the most part, there was a couple games where he was on the field next to me, but we did 3 of our 5 together, and that's kind of like one of the things that we've been doing. So in a typical full-sided, or even a small-sided soccer match, you've got 3 refs, apart from the really little people where you just have a center ref. You've got 2 assistant ARs, assistant referees running the sides, and then you've got 1 in the center. So Ethan and I are 2/3 of a ref team, and so we bill ourselves as much when we email with the assigners for all these tournaments, people that assign the refs. We say, hey, we're 2 of 3. If you can get us another AR, and so for this next Saturday, we have all 5 matches together, which is kind of cool. So again, it's like I've been talking with Carissa, my wife, when he wanted to do this, and that's one of the reasons I did it with him, is because I'm like, he's 13, he can't drive, so he wants this to be his job. Means I've got to drive him there. And if I'm going to be there at these matches or tournaments, why not just stay and get paid?
Yeah.
Stay and get paid. So so it's a family effort, but yeah, it was really great. And, candidly, I'm not someone that really enjoys cardio in and of itself. I need a purpose. So that's why I play soccer. I mean, a lot of people are shocked because, I'm fairly in shape, and on my soccer team, I play for an over 40 soccer team, and I'm the guy that's, in pretty good cardio shape. And people are sometimes shocked to learn that I don't do running. I don't run outside of playing soccer. I find ways to get my heart rate up. I strength train. I do like weighted walking, but I just stay active and keep my cardiovascular system in check. But this has been kind of an additional layer to some of that cardio training is reffing. But yeah, so it's been a lot of fun. So awesome. That's kind of new. That's kind of new and fun, and we're having a good time. So we'll see. It's starting to get warmer, so we're like, out there in the 80 hot. Degrees, 90 degrees, Middle Tennessee humidity. It'll be an interesting summer of calorie burn. I'll tell you that. All right. Well, with that, I'm excited for this episode. These are admittedly, these are 2 foods I don't deal with that much. We did a food packing event at our church for children in Africa, and I was struck by the fact that one of the biggest components of these meal packing program is lentils. And so I know it's a very powerful food that when we talk about like really core nutritional needs, lentils comes up a lot. And then, as I mentioned, kale gets this kind of bad rap. It kind of got like this surge of like popularity, but then it got like, I don't know, twice as much pushback from folks that are like, this is absolute trash, I could never eat. So it's kind of the brunt end of a lot of jokes. So I am curious whether people have experience with these, or like me, have very little to no experience, because I confess I don't really eat either of these on a regular basis. And so why don't you walk us through lentils and kale? I'm curious kind of some creative ways we can incorporate these.
All right. So lentils, yes, just like you said, they are a nutrition powerhouse. They're high in B vitamins, magnesium, zinc, potassium. Their nutrition breakdown is protein in 1 cup cooked. Protein is 17.9. So 1 cup cooked is giving you close to the 20 grams of protein. So carbs, 39 grams of carbs in 1 cup cooked. Essentially 0 grams of fat. Calories, 230 in 1 cup cooked. And fiber is 15.6 grams in 1 cup
that's
cooked.
Huge,
so
right?
That is huge. You are going to feel so full from 1 cup cooked and only 230 calories. So
And just for context too, depending on your age, depending on if you're a male or a female, just in broad terms, and there's actual breakdowns by male, female, and by age. But just know when we talk about fiber for a daily serving, recommended usually is in the 20s and the 30s, right? And so if you're getting 15, you said 15 in a cup?
15.6, yeah.
15.6 in a cup. I mean, that's monstrous. That's like, you're 5 away from in the lower end of what you're likely going to need, and that's in 1 cup. So that's why when I heard that number, which I wasn't aware of, and I know how I stack to get to my 31 to 34 grams of fiber per day, I'm like, holy smokes. Like I do a lot in my breakfast bowl, sometimes with oats, with berries, and with chia seeds to get up into that double-digit fiber range, and so for a cup of lentils, that's pretty incredible. So I knew it was a nutrient powerhouse, but again, admittedly, I didn't know it packed that much punch in terms of fiber, which is, of course, incredibly important. And if I could go on a quick tirade, just because I know this from working with so many clients, keep in mind how important fiber is. Fiber is basically a carbohydrate that passes through your body undigested. And it is incredibly powerful for feeding good gut bacteria. As Danielle mentioned, it helps keep you full. So it helps people adhere to a more appropriate calorie range, which manifests itself in managing a healthier body weight, which has a whole host of positive health outcomes. It reduces blood sugar spikes, after carbohydrate rich meals, right? So it also helps lower high cholesterol. It is on the front lines of defense against cancer, specifically that I've seen in research, colorectal cancer, which I believe is the third leading cause of cancer death. It's also on the front lines protecting against cardiovascular disease, which is the number one cause of premature death in America and around the world. And so all that's to say, Danielle is the one that taught me about the importance of fiber years ago, if you can believe that. That was something that I knew was important kind of in theory, but wasn't really focused on. So kudos to Danielle for, again, correcting me on that over the years and getting me more focused on that. And that's a big part of what we do with our clients as well, is focus on optimizing nutrients. So if you work with us, chances are where the importance of fiber. But all that's to say, back to, holy smokes, 15 grams of fiber in one cup. That's pretty incredible. So lentils are already moving up very rapidly in my esteem for what they pack.
So they are essentially a quick cooking bean. Okay. So they're not super weird or strange. They're just like the speedy cooking bean. They come in 3 different colors, at least easily found 3 different colors in the grocery store. So green has a more nutty flavor. They stay a little bit more firm during cooking. Brown softens really quickly. So you just want to be careful not to overcook that one. And red also cooks quickly, so it will lose their shape. And sometimes that can be to an advantage, and you'll see here in a minute in these tips. But so our first tip here is to put cooked lentils on top of your green leafy salad or in your grain salad, very similar to what you would do with beans. So again, any cooked lentils could be on top of salad or in a grain salad like a quinoa or barley salad. Lentils can be a main course in a meatless meal. So it doesn't have to be a meatless meal. Like if you're making tacos, for example, you can do half and half. So half of your taco meat and then half lentils. And it can be flavored the same way, so you just use really the same seasonings. Or again, you could just substitute completely out the meat, and the protein and fiber we mentioned will give you so much fullness that you may not even know that you're not having meat. Another one is they're really great. Oh dear, sorry.
Real life. Phones go off even when we're recording podcasts.
They're really good tossed into soups or stews or chilies. So again, they can take on any type of flavor in your soup. If it's more like a spicy soup or more of like a Mediterranean style flair, those lentils will take on the flavor of the other ingredients in your soup. This one I thought was really fun. Putting it in stir fry, I would never have thought of that. So it could be the protein in your stir fry, or it could actually be the base of your stir fry. So instead of the rice, you can use lentils again, because they do lose their shape a little bit. So it would kind of give you that same kind of texture as the rice, and maybe even absorb like the sauce that you have on your stir fry.
Nice.
This I have done before. So you're taking lentils as part of the inside of your stuffed peppers recipe. So you can combine it with, the spices and herbs or what other ingredients you would put in. So it could be the protein or it could be the grain inside your stuffed cooked peppers. So one option would be combine quinoa, lentils, cashews, and spices like thyme and basil. So that would be really filling. You would get probably for sure 30 grams of protein, fiber in that meal.
Wow, there it is.
So
Even for the guys that are under 50, that would be about all you needed for the day.
yeah, so eat wisely, maybe do half of pepper. Another one is, um, let's see, that one I already mentioned. Okay, so it could be in a baked product. So you could use it. I did it a sweet potato lentil biscuit one time. I made those and they were really tasty. So I used the red lentils because they did lose their shape and that was appropriate for that recipe. We didn't need them to have, a circular, that would have been weird in a biscuit. So it was really great that the red lentils pair really well with sweet potatoes. So it could be in a baked product. Another one would be this is really fun, uncooked lentils. You just ground it and make protein powder. So how fun
Whoa,
is
okay.
that? You could throw that into your smoothie.
Okay, pump the brakes. That's pretty rad. And it'll absorb the flavor, right? And so
I don't think you'll really notice because it's uncooked. I have
right.
not tried it, but that is amazing because you just basically, people spend a lot of money on protein powder. So really just buy a bag of uncooked lentils, throw them in the blender.
I'm having a meathead moment here, but that's kind of a game changer. I don't currently, I'm a fan of protein supplements. I think they're one of the few supplements that are worth it. However, they continue to get more and more expensive. I tend to be a single ingredient type supplement guy. The only protein, whether it's a whey or a protein or a pea protein or something like that. But all that's to say, I don't have it right now. I haven't been on a protein supplement in a while. But that's kind of a fascinating application too. And I do love smoothies. I go through seasons of smoothies, usually during the summer, and throw in some berries, some Greek yogurt, some almond milk. So that's kind of fascinating to grind that up. So I think that's a cool one for guys and girls alike.
I definitely have to have a good grinder, but that will be fun. Another one, again, using it as a meat substitute in your favorite pasta sauce. So like, how you make spaghetti meat sauce, for example, lentils would pair well with mushrooms, onions, bell peppers, and you'd have a really veggie packed like spaghetti sauce. So the lentils could be the meat portion or again, just part of the spaghetti sauce that you normally make. So that's the whole point of these tips is these are hopefully something that you can easily incorporate, something you've already doing,
Right.
How can you just throw those in? And the last one is to make veggie burgers. Combine the cooked lentils with quinoa, rolled oats, and spices. And again, that would be really filling just because of all the protein and fiber.
Wow, very cool. That's cool.
So that is lentils.
We should mention too. So if you're looking to dig deeper into, kind of some of these foods and some resources associated with them, sort of like what we're doing with this series, we just want to give a shout out to Old Ways, which is a nonprofit that, as you've heard us say on the episodes in the past, they help people live healthier, happier lives. And so some of this is derived from kind of their framework called 12 Great Ways. And so if you Google the number 12 Great Ways collection, you should see at the top of your Google results page the Old Ways website. And if you create just a free account, you can access a lot of documentation on, again, very much similar to what we're doing now, which is just getting creative with some of these foods. So shout out to Old Ways. Love what they're doing over there in this regard. And so that's very cool. That's a fun one. Again, I don't know if I have ever purchased lentils. I have to just be honest. And so
they're not as hard to find. So
yeah. So, I mean, just coming off too, that food packing, ministry event too, is just, in bulk and just thinking about, I think we only put like 3 or 4 ingredients into those meal packs. And that was such a big one. And so you just kind of understand now why that is a go-to for a way that we can really help people with their nutritional needs, far across the world. And that means that there's implications for us here as well. If it's that powerful that we're packing and shipping those things to countries like countries within Africa, we should take note of why those are so important and being utilized. So anyways, that's really cool. I learned a lot. I am super curious about kale. Okay. So I've had a little bit of kale here and there, but again, it tends to be more a joke these days. I think maybe that's just the circles I'm in. But a little bit of the pushback on the rise of kale within the recent, 10 years or so, as it's gotten a lot of publicity, if you will, or press. But it's gotten kind of equal disaffection, if that's a word, as it has affection. So talk us through some practical, non-weird, cool, creative ways to incorporate the infamous kale.
Okay, awesome. Well, let's first start. It's actually part of the cruciferous vegetable family. So it's related to cabbage, broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, and collard greens. That's something I did not know, that it was part of that family. It in 1 cup cooked, in 1 cup raw, 7 calories, 7 calories. That's very, very few.
So this is what we talk about. So when you think about, just real fast on the application, there's a couple things that are like 3 or 4 or 5 main things when it comes to managing hunger. Let's say you have a weight loss goal. Protein, fiber, water, sleep, eating enough calories, not too few. All of those things help manage hunger. But sometimes the lost one in that is what we call high volume, low energy foods. And it doesn't mean it's low nutrient density. It means that it's just low calorie. It can still come with nutrient punch, but it's just high volume, right? Think about like eating, 2 cucumbers for however few calories it is. So when you say a cup for 7 calories, it's dramatically low for a cup. I mean, there's few things on planet Earth that in a cup of it, would only produce 7 total calories. So that's kind of fascinating right off the bat. I would have guessed it was more than that. I would have guessed it was at least double that, if not triple.
Okay. Yeah. So 1 cup raw, 7 calories, 1 gram of carb, 1 gram of fiber, excellent source of, so these are really, really high. When I say excellent source, it's actually way more than that. Excellent has to be like, I think greater than 25% of your daily value. These were off the charts, like 300, 200%. So when I give you these tips, let's not overdo kale. Okay.
Right.
Because these are actually fat soluble vitamins. So they're vitamin K, vitamin A, vitamin C is water soluble. So you can't really overload on, well, you can, but so those 3 vitamins, it's super high. Antioxidants as well is super high. So one thing that's really fun fact about kale is, I only said 1 gram of fiber, and I think I was really surprised by that. But it has actually this mechanism. It's let me see here, a substance in kale that binds bile acids to lower cholesterol. That's the action of a cholesterol lowering medications. So some cholesterol lowering medications can bind bile acids to help you excrete the extra cholesterol. And kale has a substance in that does the same thing. So even though we don't have a lot of fiber, this is a huge cholesterol lowering food. So
wow, that's a pretty incredible mechanistic reality about that leafy kale.
Leafy kale. All right. So I did not start having kale until I was an adult, but I do really love it for, I've done several of these things. So your taste buds can enjoy these. Okay. So first one, saute kale. Kale is very tough. Okay. So you don't just eat it raw. Don't do that. Okay. So first, you can soften it in a skillet with olive oil, garlic, onions, whatever spices and herbs you want. That's a really fast, quick side dish. I call it like a warm salad. That's how I present it to my kids. Here's our kale salad. My kids like it too. So that's really fast and easy. Another one is to coarsely chop, which you can buy it in a big bag pre-cut for you. Now, you don't eat the stems, so you would kind of peel off the leaves, and it's pretty easy to do, and they've done most of the work for you in those big bags. But so you're going to just peel off the leaves and you can toss it on a pizza. So if you put it underneath the cheese, if you're making a homemade pizza, it's going to be nice, tender, kind of like having spinach on your pizza. And then if you put it over the cheese, you're going to get like a crispy texture. So kind of your preference. So you could try both. I have not done that on my pizza yet. This is really great. It's easy to add into soups because it holds its texture better than spinach. When you put spinach in a soup, it like dwindles. It wilts so much that you're dissolves, like, I don't feel like I'm having any spinach here. But kale does not. Kale holds its texture, but it still becomes tender. And so it's almost like you're having non-wilted spinach in your soup. So that's a really easy one.
Interesting texture to add to the soup, I imagine. I
Mm-hmm.
haven't had that, but
Yeah. Add to a smoothie.
mm-hmm.
So this one you'd have to have a pretty good blender to get it to really like blend well. I think that's where probably the bad rap comes from is they'll put it in a smoothie and their smoothie's not great and there are like pieces of kale in their smoothie. That's not going to be delightful at all.
And I've done that too. I'm no expert, and I don't think I've utilized kale in smoothies, but I have found even with other ingredients, sometimes I do like a 2 blend method, and so things that are tougher to blend, I'll blend those like just with almond milk if that's like my base for my smoothie or something like that. I'll start by smoothing that up, if you will, like worrying
Yeah.
that for a while, and then add the other ones that I do want, like my berries, because I don't mind little chunks of berries and stuff like that in my smoothies. I like it personally. So it might just be something too where you need to think about just breaking that
Nice.
down early,
Good tip. Yeah.
and then adding some more ingredients later that you don't mind if some of that texture carries through. So
There you go.
little smoothie tip.
There you
I'm
go.
just pretending that I know a lot of things about smoothies.
That's good. I like it. I wouldn't have thought it. I'm lazy. I just put all in at one time. Okay, make kale chips. My coworker actually told me about this a while ago, and I tried it, and it works. It actually works really well. So you toss kale with some olive oil, minced garlic, salt, and pepper, and you spread it on a cookie sheet, similar to roasting vegetables. You're trying not to get them to touch, and so that they can become crispy. So,
Wow.
Pretty fast and easy for that.
That's a good one. I think I think that'd be a fun one for folks. That could be a little crunch therapy, and it's
Yeah.
cool.
And then, I mean, you would probably want to do a couple of cookie sheets because, again, you're spreading it out. You're not going to get
Right.
a ton of chips.
Yeah.
But yeah, if next time you have a sandwich for dinner or something you would normally have chips with, go ahead and throw those in the oven. Wilt kale into your next batch of spaghetti sauce. So that is very similar to what you might do with other vegetables in the spaghetti sauce. Another one is you can enjoy it raw. Okay, so this is how you do it. You have to do it well.
I was gonna say, because at the top of this you said don't eat it raw. So here's the caveat. Okay.
Yes, if you want to. I had this last week actually. So you just toss it with your favorite oil and vinegar based dressing. It has to sit for at least 30 minutes. My neighbor didn't know about this either. And he was like, oh, I don't know how you eat kale raw. Well, it's like, did you put the salad dressing on it for 30 minutes? No. So it becomes tender with the olive oil and vinegar. And so if it's sitting in there for 30 minutes, it'll be more, it's going to have more texture than spinach, but it's not going to be like, too bad. It's going to taste good. It's not going to be too crunchy.
That's the trick on raw. Gotcha.
That's the trick on raw. Okay, so we talked about hummus a couple episodes or maybe last episode. You can make kale hummus. I have not done this, but you combine the kale in a food processor with chickpeas, squeeze of lemon, olive oil, and a dollop of tahini sauce. So
you're like the hummus queen, so I feel like that one's on the horizon.
I know. I should try that. I should definitely get that going. This would be kind of a nice colorful mashed potatoes, if you will, a little extra flavor. So mash your potatoes with sauteed kale, Parmesan, and some warm buttermilk or milk just to get it fluffy. So that could be the final tip for kale. So hopefully you found some of those that would be a good starting place.
Wow, that's cool. Well, yeah, both of those, I mean, in their own respect, I mean, on the lentil side, huge fiber punch, right? Along with other nutrients, protein, super versatile. And then on kale, on some of the vitamins, so some of the, the micro side of the nutrition, scale, if you will, really packs that punch, as you said, in terms of a percentage of daily intake. And so both of these are incredibly powerful for different reasons. And so that's cool. That's super interesting. I definitely learned a couple techniques that would, I think sway me. I think I know where I'm going to begin playing with some of these, on both the lentil side and the kale side. Kale, I'm just going to tell you, I'm going to start with the smoothie, but because that's just easy and we're headed into warmer weather. So the chips are kind of fascinating to me too. So that's pretty cool. And on the lentil side, we do a lot of chili with our kids. We do a lot of, ground turkey with tomatoes, and for our tacos, we don't tend
Yeah.
to do, beef or anything like that, or ground beef. We do ground turkey, and then we do taco seasoning and tomatoes and that sort of stuff. And like you said, you can split base it really
Yeah.
with lentils. And so between the chili and the tacos, I think those are, and then on the kale side, the smoothie, and the chip side are most interesting to me. So
Awesome.
very cool.
Awesome.
Well, those are cool tips. These are great foods. And that's really just the purpose of the series. Just kind of illuminate, kind of the beauty of the food, and just some different ways, creative ways, because that's really kind of what I think we all struggle with at different times, right? Is we've seen in the research, one of the best things that, one of the best things you can do for your health is source, minimally processed, nutrient dense foods from a wide variety of sources. And so that's really what we're trying to do, is just expand, our view, your view, our collective view of ways to utilize these nutrient dense foods, to keep in accordance with, your health goal. And so that's very cool. Well, that's it. We covered, you covered, on lentils and kale. And so excited to try a couple of these, and would love to hear from you all if you're starting to try some of these tips and tricks, whether from this episode or some of the ones in the past. And so if you be sure to subscribe. We've got a little bit more coming in terms of this series. And so we've got a few more that we're going to be releasing here. But leave us a review. Let us know if you try any of these, how the recipes turn out, if you have any questions. If you've got friends that you like talking about this sort of stuff with, we would love for you to share this episode with them. It's just one of the ways that we get to help as many people as possible with our free content, and that's what the podcast is here for. So you can follow us on social. Yet to be determined whether or not Danielle will let me post a photo of her in roller skates. So she and I are going to have a back end debate about that. But you can follow us on social media at Imago Nutrition. That's IMAGO Nutrition. And as always, we'd like to thank Happy Pill for our theme song, Thinkin Bout Food. We'll see you next time.